Californian authorities order Michael Jackson to close his Neverland ranch. But what about the animals? Good morning, this is the News Hour on GMTV.
Yes, it's 6 o'clock on Friday, the 10th of March, 2006.
On the programme this morning, mounting debts and unpaid wages, the next blow for pop star Michael Jackson. Now welfare officers have been brought in to care for his zoo animals as the singer is ordered to close his Neverland ranch. Talking to the man who issued that order in 40 minutes' time.
Also this hour, doctors from 7 countries, including Britain, call on America to end human rights abuses at Guantanamo Bay. As the international criticism continues to grow, will the American military pay any attention?
And he's shaken but not stirred after meeting Carla Romano. An interview with the new James Bond actor, Daniel Craig.
Right now, Andrea has the cloud details.
Thank you very much, John. A lot of cloud around through today. A bit of a messy picture weather-wise through today. As you can see, we do have some showers across many parts of the country. Best chance really of seeing any brightness is going to be across the south and west. But even here, it's still going to be fairly breezy, so it's not going to feel particularly nice as you head out the door. It's a touch milder. Obviously, over the past few days, it has been a touch milder than it was last week, but things are already starting to turn a little bit cooler. And when you add on the winds as well, it is going to feel quite chilly out and about. What we could well see is some of this rain turning a little bit sleety at times as those temperatures turn a bit cooler. Let's take a look at the temperatures for this afternoon. Coolest place you can see in the north and east, mildest across the south. I'll give you more details, though, in 20 minutes. Penny?
Andrea, thank you. The top story today, and pop singer Michael Jackson has been ordered to shut down his Neverland ranch. Cordelia Kretschmar is in New York. Cordelia.
Good morning. Yeah, he's got the biggest selling album of all time to pay his way. But it seems Michael Jackson's lavish lifestyle and astronomical legal fees have left him so deeply in debt that his cash flow is now completely dried up. He's even stopped paying his servants.
The fairy tale home of the Peter Pan of pop. Michael Jackson's Neverland ranch gained notoriety as the special place he entertained his young friends. With its amusement park and zoo, the 2,500-acre domain was a dream come true for children. But that turned into a nightmare for Jackson when police raided the ranch in 2004, looking for evidence in a child molestation case against the singer. In the trial that followed, Jackson was accused of abusing children at that famous home, charges he denied, and he was found not guilty last year. Now, though, Neverland has come back to haunt him again. More than 60 workers haven't been paid in months. Jackson hasn't paid their insurance either, and he's now been fined around £100,000 and his beloved ranch shut down.
So a pretty spectacular fall from grace for one of the biggest superstars the world has ever known. You know, back in the 70s and 80s, it was his music that was causing the sensation. Then his bizarre private life took the spotlight. Recently, he's just lurching from crisis to crisis. But rest assured, no matter how cash-strapped Michael Jackson becomes, something tells me he'll always have a roof over his head at the moment. For example, he's staying in Bahrain as a guest of the King of Bahrain's son.
Cordelia, thank you very much.
Let's catch up on the rest of the news. Here's Amanda.
John, thank you. Good morning. Thousands of pensioners face the prospect of paying back money given them in error by a government department. It's the latest difficulty involving benefits following the fiasco over child tax payments. Nick Dixon has the story.
Pension credits are a lifeline for millions of elderly people, but now many face getting that income slashed because of government errors. New figures obtained by the Conservatives show that the cost of mistakes in pension credit has trebled in just 4 years. More than £130 million has been paid out in error, and the government wants its money back. They say they won't make any demands for repayment if it was a genuine official error, but if it was due to incorrect information being given, even inadvertently, many will be forced to pay up.
The Department of Work and Pension says it has a number of initiatives to focus on errors and that their checking regime is now much more rigorous. It also says £130 million of overpayment reflects a period of time before these new measures were introduced.
But that will be of little consolation to the thousands forced to pay for the government's mistakes.
Nick Dixon reporting there. The former Conservative Minister John Profumo, who was at the centre of one of the biggest political scandals of the 20th century, has died at the age of 91. He was forced to resign from the cabinet in 1963 for lying to the House of Commons over his affair with the showgirl Christine Keeler. The story was made into the film Scandal in 1989. More than 250 doctors from 7 countries have signed a letter calling on the United States to stop force-feeding prisoners at Guantanamo Bay in Cuba who are on hunger strike. And they want medical staff carrying out the force-feeding to be disciplined. It's believed 5 detainees are refusing food. The US Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice says Iran is now probably her country's greatest challenge. Speaking at a congressional hearing in Washington, she said Iran was determined to develop nuclear weapons, a claim the country denies. Ms. Rice also said Iran's support for terrorism was undermining democracies in the Middle East. The government's official watchdog is criticising ministers for the way they dealt with the collapse of MG Rover. The government gave the ailing car giant a £6 million loan in the hope the firm would be bailed out by a Chinese company. But the National Audit Office says the chance of getting such a deal was remote and £5.2 million will now have to be written off.
This is the week immediately after the company went into administration. A judgment had to be made whether it was possible to find a buyer who would keep this company as a going concern. Thousands of jobs were at stake. However, the evidence suggests that that really was quite remote.
Wayne Rooney is to be the new face of a major supermarket campaign. The England striker, along with his girlfriend Colleen McLaughlin, will front a series of adverts for Asda over the next 2.5 years in a deal reportedly worth £3.5 million. Yesterday, Rooney signed a £5 million publishing deal. And the time is now 6 minutes past 6. I'm back at 6:30. Here's Penny and John.
So 8 million in 2 days, Pen. Not bad work, is it, really?
No, I wouldn't get out of bed for anything less than 10 million, John. You know that.
I'm your agent. Let's have a look at the front pages this morning. That distressing story for old people about apparently some of them having to repay the pension credit they've been given, up to £130 million worth of overpayments. How? One wonders. Interesting story in The Independent saying that Robert Maxwell was being investigated for war crimes and was about to be talked to by the police just before he drowned mysteriously 15 years ago. And The Times and The Guardian concentrate on the supermarkets and their takeover of the entire country, in some cases also, it seems. Market competition inquiry may break that stranglehold, says The Guardian, but The Times follows that up with a warning saying that not only do Tesco's face that inquiry, but they're also in trouble, according to The Times, for boycotting a scheme to encourage healthy eating.
The Daily Mail says that doctors will face prosecution if they refuse to allow patients to die in accordance with their living wills. The Daily Mirror has this horrible story here, a cruel yob facing prison after he snatched a rabbit from its pen and fed it live to an alligator at a zoo. And The Sun, and this is absolutely one of those you couldn't make it up. This lad here was fined £50 because he put 2 bits of junk mail in a litter bin. And apparently you're not supposed to put your own personal stuff in a street litter bin.
In a public bin?
In a public bin.
Unbelievable. Let's talk about something far more sensible than football. Time to catch up on that now, and Daily Star Chief Sports Writer Brian Woolnough joins us now. Middlesbrough did well last night, didn't they? Beating Roma.
Against the informed team in Europe, yeah. It'll be difficult away from home. They've only got that 1 goal lead, haven't they?
Penalty by
Kirby, yeah. He's very cool, isn't he? We've seen him do this a number of times during the season. A slightly controversial penalty, but nothing controversial about the way that it was stuck home. They take that lead to the Olympic Stadium in Rome. They'll have their work cut out,
yes,
but it just gives them a chance.
A great shame they didn't make it 2, courtesy of Mr. Mendieta.
Yeah, good chance, wasn't it? And he should have actually scored right the way through. He doesn't often miss those, does he? You know, a man of his experience, and there's his reaction. You can tell, yes, I should have scored here. And taking a 2-0 lead to Rome would have been far different, because...
That would have done justice to Twickenham, wouldn't it, actually?
Yes, it would.
Speaking of which, we'll come to that in just a tick. But first of all, the weekend's football. I suppose one of the big games, anyway, is Chelsea versus Spurs. I think Spurs can take advantage of Chelsea's perhaps gloom over eventually.
Yeah, it's quite interesting weekend's football coming up, and Spurs battling for that 4th place to be in the Champions League are in form, and they go to Chelsea, don't they, who have had a wretched week. Out of Europe charged by the FA after last week's ridiculous shenanigans at West Brom. Can they take advantage? I suspect that Mourinho will wind Chelsea up, you know, to have a real go back and prove to people that we are an outstanding side. We were disappointed with their attitude in Barcelona, but I suspect it'll be spot on tomorrow. But for the first time, people are looking at Mourinho and saying, OK, what else have you got to offer? Because it's all confrontational at the moment.
Glenn Roeder's had a great run at Newcastle. Will it last at Old Trafford?
Well, he hasn't lost a game, has he? He's won 5 and drawn 1, Roeder, since he took over from Graham Souness, which doesn't say much for Souness, does it? That's a very difficult one for him. He'll be delighted with a draw. I suspect their run might come to an end at Old Trafford.
Now, in the cricket, I've just been told that we're 200 for 5. Bad light has stopped play. Freddie Flintoff is at the wicket,
yes,
or will be when they resume.
Hoping to celebrate the birth of his new baby, isn't
exactly.
he? What a story that would be if he could get 100. It's not good enough, 200 for 5, bad light stop play, because they're batting first on a reasonable wicket. They need 400. Yeah. Now, whether Freddie can get them up to that, I don't know, because it's a young team thrown together, and they did great in the first test. They need some more runs. They need to take advantage, because this is Peterson, isn't it? Peterson played well yesterday.
Yeah, great 64.
And then gets out, you know, I heard him talking, and he's just getting into the 60s and 70s all the time, and needs bigger scores than that.
Just a quick word before we go about the Six Nations. You got it spectacularly wrong last time, Brian.
I did. I said, well, I did say Arsenal would be the only team left in Europe.
You did, that's right. But on the rugby, you're just slightly wrong.
Yes, Paris stages France versus England. I'll stick my neck out again. I can't see England winning in Paris. They need to. There's 4 countries locked together at the top of the Six Nations, isn't there? I'd be surprised if France just didn't edge that one.
Scotland, Ireland?
I think the Irish might just surprise Scotland. They proved themselves, Scotland, against England, but have they got the real flair? That'll be an interesting one as well.
Well, on at least 3 fronts, a great sporting weekend, isn't it?
You can come and laugh at me again next week.
I shall do so with great pleasure. I probably won't this time around. Brian, thanks very much indeed. Enjoy your weekend.
Time is 12 minutes past 6. Now, last night, a docudrama on Channel 4 gave an insight into life at the notorious Guantanamo Bay Detention Centre. It was based on the experiences, excuse me, of 3 Britons held there without charge for more than 2 years.
I guess you want to be in these things forever, huh? That's what you want to be? You want to be in here for forever? You don't get smart with me, boy. Don't get smart. You're going to tell me right now, you're going to tell me the truth. Huh? You going to tell me? Oh. Did you say you're a fighter? I thought I heard it. Don't waste my time.
Well, this morning, more than 260 doctors across 7 countries have signed a letter calling on the American authorities to abandon practices at Guantanamo Bay that they claim contravene human rights, in particular the force feeding of hunger strikers. I'm joined in the studio by Dr. David Nichol, who's coordinating the campaign, and Middle East expert Abdul Bari Atwan. Good morning to you both. David, why are you so incensed by force feeding?
Because I think, you know, hunger strikes have been around since the year dot, since the time of Mahatma Gandhi and the suffragettes, and they're a legitimate form of political protest. It is not the process of the part of doctors to be involved in that, basically. If it's a part of a doctor to make the patient aware of the risks of any particular treatment, and it's up to the patient to decide whether to take that or not.
Have you spoken to the doctors involved?
Yes, indeed. In fact, when I saw the affidavits from the doctors involved in October last year, I started this campaign, but I felt that Dr. Edmondson, who was then the doctor in charge at Guantanamo, had a right of reply, and I wrote to him. And unlike Tony Blair and the American ambassador, he did actually take the time to write back to me.
And what did he say?
He denied that he was currently force-feeding at the time, but said that he was providing nutritional supplementation on a voluntary basis to those detainees who choose not to take oral nourishment, which is not a turn of phrase I'm used to using in the medical literature.
So his excuse being that actually it was for their own, it was in the interest of their own health, is that right?
Well, it didn't make sense, in fact, because in his affidavit he said multiple times that he was involuntary feeding. So unless he's seeing some difference between the words involuntary feeding and force feeding, he's a better man than I.
Right. What's your position on this?
Well, actually, I believe the American image is extremely tarnished by all these Guantanamo and by Abu Ghraib prison in Iraq. So I think the damages are huge on the American reputation in the world as the leader of the free world. Here they decided yesterday to close down Abu Ghraib prison in Iraq, in Baghdad. But I'm afraid the damages which was inflicted on the American reputation will last for years to come. It's these kind of practices, maybe it was expected from somebody like Saddam Hussein, but to be expected from the United States to lock people for months or for years in Guantanamo Bay, in Abu Ghraib, without any fair trial, I think this is affront to human nature.
Actually, talking about Abu Ghraib, the facility in Britain, you must welcome the news that it's to be closed down.
Oh yes, definitely. This is a symbol of humiliation, sex abuse, torture to death. So many people were actually, if you see the sexual scene, sexual abuses which were practiced in that prison, I think this is affront to humanity. So thank God they closed it. But the problem is, you know, they are changing the prison. They are removing the prisoners from a new one. So I think it's not the question of changing the prison. It is changing the policies, whether they will continue with the same agenda, with the same torture, with the same sexual abuse. I think this is a question we should ask.
And David, the question is, I suppose, as well, is how much are the doctors in Guantanamo Bay going to take notice of what you have to say?
Well, I don't think they're going to take much notice of what I personally say, but I think the fact that the World Medical Association, to which the American Medical Association is a signatory, banned force feeding in 1975, I think they should pay attention to their own bodies, basically. So I think it's up to the own American establishment. You know, are they going to look into this, or are they going to look the other way? Well,
the question we shall leave hanging there. Thank you very much, Dr. David Nicholl and Abdul Bari Atwan.
Time now 16 minutes past 6. You're watching the news hour here on GMTV. These are this morning's headlines. The pop star Michael Jackson has been ordered to shut down his Neverland Ranch because he hasn't paid his workers.
Thousands of pensioners could be forced to pay back benefit money after errors by government departments.
And it's emerged that the collapse of the car maker MG Rover cost the taxpayer, that's you and me, more than £5 million as ministers in vain tried to save it. Will the sight of wild and exotic animals in Britain's circuses become a thing of the past? The government is considering banning them from travelling circuses as part of the new Animal Welfare Bill, which has its third reading in the Commons next week. Well, will it? And how do you think about it if that in fact happens? Joining me now from Hull is the director of the Great British Circus, Martin Lacey, and here in the studio I'm joined by actress and animal rights campaigner Helen Worth. Helen, good morning to you. Animal welfare, I'm so sorry. How are you? Anyway, good to see you. How do you react to this news, the prospect of wild animals, exotic animals being banned from travelling circuses?
Well, we're absolutely delighted, of course, and we've been talking about it on GMTV for a good few months now. And it was the plight of Annie that was shown here first a few months ago that started this whole thing off, yes. And it's because of GMTV viewers that the government has changed its mind and is now proposing to ban wild animals from circuses. So we just have to thank everybody who emailed and texted and wrote in. It's thanks to them that this has come about. Thank
Not
you.
just GMTV viewers, Martin, but 80% of the public, according to a Murray poll, want animals banned from circuses, or some animals, exotic animals, banned from circuses. You're swimming against the tide, aren't you?
Well, the Murray poll have withdrawn that statement because they found it safe because of the questions that were asked to the public. So the Murray poll needs to be discounted. Basically, it is a lie.
What about the GMTV viewers then?
The GMT viewers, unfortunately, listen to emotive rhetoric from Helen Worth and are not up to date with the facts. The facts are that our animals are extremely well cared for, and the GMTV viewers are in fact sentencing lots of beautiful animals to death, and they are putting a lot of equity workers out of work when circuses close.
Well, let me put that point to Helen. If circuses do close, those animals you see right behind Martin there will have to be shot.
No, of course, that's absolutely not true. The first thing that Born Free will do is take the lions here and now to a sanctuary and a happy retirement. And all the others, if Martin will work with Born Free, will be given a happy retirement and conditions that are suitable to them.
Yeah.
So that they can live happily and freely.
But you have to admit, Martin, I know that thousands of people do go to circuses, and you'll argue that thousands of people enjoy what they see and don't have a problem with it. But the fact of the matter is, a great rump of the public are unhappy, uncomfortable with this, and the government seems to have taken the view that it's not in the animals' welfare to be detained in the way we can see those lions behind you now.
The lions are in fact tigers. This is what I mean about people not knowing what they're looking at. The point being is that the government have produced a knee-jerk reaction. They have not listened to scientific evidence. Everywhere we go, we're properly inspected. I am a government-registered trainer. This statement, in fact, is a restriction of trade. It is discrimination and therefore against the law. Helen Worth is wrong to suggest that there's this wonderful sanctuary to care for animals. We're talking about the 8th generation of tigers I bred, the 10th generation of lions, 40 years work. Now, who's going to compensate me for this? We can't just take away someone's livelihood and give animals away for forever. I'm not going to have my animals locked up, bored out of their brains. These animals are like police dogs and police horses. They have a very mentally stimulating day, both physically and mentally, as I say. And at the end of the day, like police horses and police dogs, they go back to their stables, they go back to their kennels. I wouldn't work with these animals if they were mentally deranged. Okay. My partner Helen is in the ring at the moment, working with them. She couldn't do it if these animals were mentally unbalanced.
All right, fair enough. Let me clarify the situation. I do know the difference between a lion and a tiger. Put my failure to identify same down to old age and bad eyesight. Anyway, Helen, what do you say to his point?
Born Free does have evidence to the contrary that wild animals are not kept in good conditions in circuses, and indeed the Equity Journal has printed letters from actors this week who are actually against wild animals in circuses, and one actor has stated that wild animals need freedom, not a career.
Very, very, very brief last word, Martin.
Well, I think all this emotive rhetoric is just sickening. The truth is, circuses will close, animals will be put to sleep, and whatever Helen Worth said is just a big lie, and she shouldn't be conning your viewers.
OK, I tell you what, I'd like to counsel the views of our GMTV viewers again. I have had, as ever, both sides of the argument, and I'd like to hear their views. Do text us if you're at home on this issue, 81189. Tell us what you think. Good idea or bad idea to ban exotic animals like lions and tigers, which we can all identify, from travelling circuses. Helen, good to see you. Thanks very much. Martin, thanks to you.
Time is 21 minutes past 6. Still to come on the news now, the latest weather from Andrea.
And we're off to Hollywood for a James Bond exclusive. Carl Romano talks to the new 007 Daniel Craig.
The Dame is back.
Welcome to another audience with moi.
By popular demand, Shirley Bassey dazzles another celebrity audience.
She's sang with some of the biggest names in music, and I was wondering if you've ever been starstruck yourself. Oh, God, yes. Elvis Presley.
And she's still got the Midas touch.
I can't go on.
Another audience with Shirley Bassey, Saturday at 9, ITV1.
Life isn't always perfect.
But I've got the hair color part of it worked out.
Nice and easy with new Colour Seal Gloss Conditioner helps seal in colour for up to 6 whole weeks, keeping it shiny and radiant longer. So even when life isn't going your way, your hair colour stays looking wonderful. Nice and easy from Clairol Colour Wonderful.
Took me an awful long time to get where I am today. I am not going to give it all up to warm a man's slippers.
For the times they are a-changing. In our most drastic time of change,
The only man could have saved her should have been you.
they were the ones
Get her now!
who felt the real cost of free love.
Don't she?
You can manage that drink tonight.
I think we deserve one. A brand new series.
She's arresting!
The Royal, Sunday at 8 on ITV1.
John, look, you see, so if they're stripy, that's a tiger, and then the one with the big hair, right, that's a lion.
Fine, we'll know in future. I've
Yeah.
been brought up on, you know, Tiger in your tank and Lenny the Lion. I ought to
Really?
know better.
You should really, shouldn't you?
Just to
Anyway,
explain to you, the
remember.
monitor is a long way away. All I could see is a rather blurred vision of a yellow thing and Martin Lacey, the spokesman in front.
Yeah, right.
You know the feeling.
Now for something completely different.
Yes, you're watching the news hour on GMTV.
No, I'm waiting for some music,
Oh,
John.
I see. Well, it didn't come, did it? See,
No,
but
well,
I've lived.
no, it'll be here now.
Do what you're paid to do, yeah. Ah.
Yes, you see?
That was worth waiting for, wasn't it?
It was, wasn't it? It's a hint. He's blonde, slightly stocky, and normally plays the bad guy, so has Daniel Craig got what it takes to be Bond? met him on the set for the new film Casino Royale. And Carla, good morning. Look at you, just straight back from, where was it, the Bahamas? Barbados,
That's
somewhere
right.
warm, beginning with B?
Bahamas it was. I was getting confused too.
So were you left shaken and stirred, or just a little squidgy?
Oh, very good, Penny. You know what? Maybe a little stirring. I think he's definitely got potential, and he certainly had a lot of the female lady, the ladies on set getting a bit stirred up, especially when he took his shirt off. Certainly no complaints there. The guy's got an amazing body. But he does, Penny, have his doubters. A lot of people who don't seem to think that he's quite up for the job. There's even been websites launched criticising him, saying that he's not good-looking enough, not charismatic enough, that he's just not Bond enough. Well, I wanted to know if he was frustrated about all the negative press, even before people had a chance to see the guy in action.
I don't get frustrated. I really don't. I mean, I'm focusing on what we're doing here, and I know we're creating something that's going to be very special. I mean, I think we're making a fantastic movie. I really do. And if that's the case, then we might get a standard chance of making a fantastic Bond. And that's where I'm coming from. I mean, we've got one of the best teams in the world, we've got a great cast, and we've got all the things in the right place. So, you know, when it comes down to it, if we make a bad movie, then we've all got to hold up our hands, and I've got to hold up my hands. But at the moment, I'm just cracking on with it.
Now, there's been a lot of talk about him not coping with some of the action scenes and actually having his teeth knocked out. What did he say about that?
You know what, Penny, I think the tabloids haven't given this guy a particularly easy ride, giving the impression to the public that he's not strong enough to cope with all the action scenes that he's got to do, that he's, well, a bit of a wussy. Well, I was there, and I've got to tell you, Penny, he looked strong enough to me. He told me it was rigorous, was very physical, but that his injuries have been blown out of all proportion, particularly that story about him getting his teeth knocked out.
I get knocks every day on this movie, really, because we're doing, you saw some of the stuff we're doing. It's incredibly physical, and that's just the way it is. You know, I knocked a crown, and that was it. But by the time it hits the press, obviously there's blood and there's everything, but, you know, it's...
But you're fine and everything.
I'm fine.
Carla, can I just say that you're looking so gorgeous this morning. I think you should be a Bond girl.
Thank you very much, Penelope. Can I just say that I feel quite sorry for Daniel Craig when I was interviewing him, because there's so much pressure on him, and he did seem quite nervous when I was talking to him. Maybe that was just me. But, you know, when I was seeing him do the scenes, he did look, I think, pretty good, you know, and I think this, everybody has an idea about who should be the next Bond, who their favourite Bond is. I think he stepped into enormous shoes with Pierce Brosnan that, you know, I do, my heart kind of goes out to him a little bit, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, well, you know me, I love an underdog.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Carla. Carla looking spectacularly gorgeous today.
She is indeed. Yeah. That's why I like working with me. Lions, Tigers, by the way, Penny, USA, Bahamas, Barbados.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You don't even know where the Bahamas are, John. Why are they over there? They're not near Barbados.
Point taken, I think, Penny. Here's Andy with the weather.
GMTV weather, sponsored by Tops Tiles. Brightening homes, whatever the weather.
You're paying attention, John. Give me a geography lesson now.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Good morning. Now, this is the UK. We've got a fair amount of cloud over the UK this morning. That's why we've had to draw a bit of a line around it, because you can't really see it underneath all that. We've also seen some showers moving in overnight. It's a really messy picture weather-wise through today. There's quite a lot happening. If we take a look at this morning's chart, what you can see is a fair amount of cloud around through this morning. It's a little bit misty in places. Some areas seeing some sunshine. I've just checked out the window here in London, and you can see some bright spells across the south and east, but really you're quite lucky if you're seeing that through today. We're going to see some showers as well across Northern Ireland, nudging into parts of North Wales, or southern parts of the Republic of Ireland, also just moving into southern parts of Wales and into the southwest. Again, you could well see some brightness here today, but you see there that it's fairly windy. We're going to see some fairly unsettled weather during the course of today and over the weekend. I'll give you some details on that in just a second. Now, for this afternoon, you can see here quite a grey and wet afternoon for much of central and eastern Scotland. As far as western Scotland is concerned, maybe a little bit drier. Temperatures pretty much the same, 6 or 7 degrees. Things improving gradually for some areas of southern parts of Northern Ireland, for the Isle of Man as well. A cloudy picture right the way across northern England, across Wales as well. Southern parts of Wales, you could escape the worst of that and see some form of sunshine as we go into the afternoon. As we move into the southeast, highs of around 7 or 8 degrees. Again, we will see persistent but mainly light rain across the southeast. And then into the southwest, again, this looks like where you stand the best chance of seeing some form of sunshine through today. Doesn't necessarily make it a perfect day. There'll still be some showers around, and it will be breezy as well. Now, I mentioned uncertainty. This is what's going to be happening through the weekend. As we go into tonight, into tomorrow, we will see cold air starting to arrive from the north and east. What will happen is, as this milder air approaches from the west, put the two of them together, we've got milder, wetter air arriving against colder air. That means snow. So there's quite a strong possibility of snow across much of Scotland, moving down into the northeast, into the Midlands, and into East Anglia as well. And it will cause disruption if you are travelling this weekend. Here's your summary.
For your in-depth local outlook, visit our website, gm.tv, or for a 10-day forecast, call GMTV's Weatherline on 0905 514 0000.
You'll have to get your hot water bottle out again.
I will indeed.
Good morning, it's 6:30, Friday the 10th of March.
You're watching the news hour on GMTV. In the next half hour, we'll be talking to the Californian official who has ordered the pop star Michael Jackson to close his Neverland ranch.
And meeting the inspirational woman who's turned her personal grief into action. G. Walker talks to us about the Anthony Walker Citizenship Award. That's in 20 minutes' time.
But our top story this morning, and more about the latest problems facing the pop singer Michael Jackson. He's been ordered to shut down his Neverland ranch, that said just a moment ago, and Cordelia in New York has all the details. Cordelia, good morning to you.
Morning, John. Yes, he's got the biggest selling album of all time behind him, so it's either his lavish lifestyle or those astronomical legal fees. Either way, the cash flow seems to have dried up, and Michael Jackson has now finally stopped paying his servants.
The fairy tale home of the Peter Pan of pop. Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch gained notoriety as the special place he entertained his young friends. With its amusement park and zoo, the 2,500-acre domain was a dream come true for children. But that turned into a nightmare for Jackson when police raided the ranch in 2004, looking for evidence in a child molestation case against the singer. In the trial that followed, Jackson was accused of abusing children at that famous home, charges he denied, and he was found not guilty last year. Now, though, Neverland has come back to haunt him again. More than 60 workers haven't been paid in months. Jackson hasn't paid their insurance either, and he's now been fined around £100,000 and his beloved ranch shut down.
Hard to believe about one of the biggest superstars the world has ever known. Back in the 70s and 80s, it was his music causing the sensations. Then, of course, his bizarre behaviour took the spotlight. These days, Michael Jackson just seems to lurch from crisis to crisis.
Cordelia, for the time being, thanks very much indeed.
Time is 6:32. Let's cross the news desk and Amanda.
Thank you. Good morning. Thousands of pensioners face the prospect of paying back money given them by mistake by a government department. It's the latest difficulty involving benefits following the fiasco over child tax payments. Here's Nick Dixon.
Pension credits are a lifeline for millions of elderly people, but now many face getting that income slashed because of government errors. New figures obtained by the Conservatives show that the cost of mistakes in pension credit has trebled in just 4 years. More than £130 million has been paid out in error, and the government wants its money back. They say they won't make any demands for repayment if it was a genuine official error, but if it was due to incorrect information being given, even inadvertently, many will be forced to pay up.
The Department of Work and Pension says it has a number of initiatives to focus on errors and that their checking regime is now much more rigorous. It also says £130 million of overpayment reflects a period of time before these new measures were introduced.
But that will be of little consolation to the thousands forced to pay for the government's mistakes.
More than 250 doctors from 7 countries have signed a letter calling on the United States to stop force-feeding prisoners at Guantanamo Bay in Cuba who are on hunger strike. They also want medical staff carrying out the force-feeding to be disciplined. It's believed 5 detainees are refusing food. The family of the Brazilian man shot dead by police in London say they'll never accept an apology offered by Tony Blair. Jean-Charles de Menezes was shot at a tube station after police mistook him for a bomber. His family's comments followed a meeting in London between Mr. Blair and the Brazilian president. They say they hope the involvement of the Brazilian government will help their search for justice. The former Conservative Minister John Profumo, who was at the centre of one of the biggest political scandals of the 20th century, has died at the age of 91. He was forced to resign from the cabinet in 1963 for lying to the House of Commons over his affair with the showgirl Christine Keeler. The story was made into the film Scandal in 1989. The government's official watchdog is criticising ministers for the way they dealt with the collapse of MG Rover. The government gave the ailing car giant a £6 million loan in the hope the firm would be bailed out by a Chinese company. But the National Audit Office says the chance of getting such a deal was remote, and £5.2 million will now have to be written off. Finally, Wayne Rooney is to be the new face of a major supermarket campaign. The England striker, along with his girlfriend Colleen McLaughlin, will front a series of adverts for Asda over the next 2.5 years in a deal reportedly worth £3.5 million. Yesterday, Rooney signed a £5 million publishing deal. It's been a good week for him. It is 6:35. I'm back with our next news bulletin at 7. Here's John and Penny.
Thanks very much. Competition time, your chance to win £10,000 for the last time this week.
Yes, here's Chantal with the details.
Who hosts Big Brother? A. Tess Daly, B. Davina McCall, C. Kelly Brook.
You can dial 09068 100 100. That's 09068 100 100. Or you can text A, B or C as your answer, plus your name and full address to 81149. Or you can enter via the website.
And the lines are open till 9 this morning. The winner will be revealed in Entertainment Today.
Right now, here's what's happening where you are.
Good morning. Welcome to the Breakfast News from ITV Granada. First today, police investigating the armed raid on a Securitas cash van in Warrington on Wednesday night are trying to trace the movements of the vehicles involved. This white flatbed Volvo V60 lorry was used to block the van before it was rammed by this red Massey Ferguson tractor. A Volvo and a dark-coloured Audi estate were used to get away from the scene. Police say the robbers made off with more than £500,000. More than 600 people attended the first Anthony Walker Young Citizen of the Year award ceremony in Liverpool last night. It was organised by G. Walker in memory of her son, who was murdered in a racist attack in Huyton. Tessa Chapman reports.
It had everything you'd expect from an awards ceremony: black tie, Bucks fizz, celebrities, all in the name of Anthony Walker, whose mother is determined his murder won't be in vain.
About time goodness got recognised and appreciated.
And it was Lauren Irwin who was the star of the night, named the first ever Citizen of the Year. So moved by her friends' experiences at the hands of bullies, she wrote and recorded a song about it.
We helped her, and then I've been all around the country, singing the song and doing questions and answers in schools all over the country.
An emotional night for all, but a symbol of the positive legacy G. Walker wants her son's brutal death to leave.
Wayne Rooney, the world's most expensive teenage footballer, has now signed the biggest sports book deal in publishing history. The Manchester United star has agreed a 12-year contract with HarperCollins to write at least 5 books. He'll net a guaranteed £5 million advance before royalties. The first volume will hit the shelves at the end of July. It'll be an autobiography of his life so far, including this year's World Cup. Footballing legends were out in force in Preston last night at a star-studded charity dinner organised by Sir Tom Finney. The Preston North End president was raising awareness of the debilitating disease Alzheimer's, which recently claimed the life of his wife Elsie. Sir Bobby Charlton, David Moyes and Jimmy Armfield were among the famous faces there. That's it for now. I'm back at 7:05. Time now for a look at the region's weather.
Ice? You can stick your ice!
Take a deep breath and shout down the weather.
There are some hefty showers about this morning, but there'll also be some bright spells. The rain should ease off during the afternoon, but it'll be cloudy. Top temperatures 7 Celsius, but chilly with a northerly wind.
6:39, let's have a quick look at the front page of the newspapers. That's the Daily Telegraph saying that elderly have to repay £130 million in a pension credit fiasco through overpayments, have to pay it back to the Treasury. The Times says that Tesco is under assault on two fronts. One about the fact that it's using its huge amount of money to hoard vast amounts of land, and for boycotting a scheme to encourage healthy eating. The Daily Mirror has that horrible story there, a cruel yob facing prison after he threw a defenceless rabbit from its pen and fed it to an alligator at a zoo. And The Sun, this is an incredible story, and I've been guilty of this as well. This lad put 2 bits of rubbish, junk mail, into a bin and has been fined £50 because of the fact that it's called household rubbish. I've done that.
And it's a public bin.
Yeah, public bin. You're not allowed to put any household rubbish.
Lots of texts and emails about the proposal to ban exotic and wild animals from travelling circuses. One in favour of the circuses from a vet saying animals love to please. If not treated well, they would not perform. However, the vast majority of them, with Helen Worth, saying that animals should be banned. The owner asks who will compensate him for 40 years training tigers. I want to know who will compensate the tigers for the loss of their freedom. Just a sample there of many, many more we have.
Time is 20 to 7. More now on the news out of California that officials have ordered the pop star Michael Jackson to close his Neverland ranch. The singer's accused of not paying his staff and maintaining insurance for the property. Now, it's not clear what will happen to the animals housed in the sizable zoo on the site. Joining me now on the line is Dean Fry, spokesperson for the California Department of Industrial Relations, who issued the closure order. Good morning. Can you clarify why you've done this?
Yes, good morning. Well, this action was taken because there was no workers' compensation insurance coverage, which is required to safeguard employees who are injured on the job. If there's no insurance, any employees who are injured, have to pay for health coverage on their own. There's no assistance other than what they can get from the state. So it's a safeguard for employees.
Right, and well, I know that Michael Jackson is apparently in Bahrain at the moment. Have you spoken to him or his family?
No, we've not been in touch with Mr. Jackson. We have spoken to some representatives who are working closely with us to take care of this matter.
So what about these animals in the zoo then? Will this Neverland staff stay on to care for the animals despite the fact they're not covered by insurance?
Well, no. We've actually made arrangements with the local county animal control to have them come out and take care of the animals if no other arrangements can be made. So we've really taken that into consideration, and measures are being taken to attend to the animals.
And meanwhile, does Mr. Jackson face a fine or what?
Well, we did issue a fine with this order. The fine was $69,000, and that is equivalent to $1,000 for each employee that is employed at Neverland Ranch.
And what about if he doesn't pay?
Well, if he doesn't pay, we may very well have to turn this over to the local district attorney for criminal prosecution, or we can take it into a civil court and seek action in that course.
Dean Fry, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Time now 18 minutes to 7. Very good morning to you if you're just joining us. Britain's biggest robbery and the attack on a security van in Warrington have highlighted the life-threatening conditions that security drivers and staff often face. Well, today the GMB union will lobby MPs to help better protect their members against the growing number of such attacks. And with me now is Colin Baker, who was shot during an attack by armed robbers 2 years ago, and Gary Smith from the GMB. Very good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Just tell us briefly what happened in your case.
18 months ago, September 04, my duties were to collect and deliver to ATM machines throughout various locations in the Midlands area, and which culminated in an attack, an armed gang. I was actually shot through my right femur bone, and which I've had to have bolts and plates to secure my leg. I got severe nerve damage. My one leg is now shorter by 2 inches. Yesterday I saw my consultant after the 18 months checkup, and I have actually now been discharged. They can't do any more for me.
You've not worked since,
no,
and you're still on crutches?
Yes, that's right.
18 months later?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
So they have actually not ruined your life, but they've actually...
Yeah, it's put a stop to it, and now I've got to go into a new chapter, start again and rebuild my life.
And mentally, how are you about this?
It's had a profound effect. The psychological side is obviously as worse as the actual physical side.
I can well imagine.
And obviously for myself, for my family as well.
And Gary's not the only one. I mean, a growing number of these attacks, 2 a day, armed attacks like this. But, and one sympathises 150% with Colin. But what can we do?
Well, first of all, we've been meeting with central government, and we've had some very positive support from the Home Office, and there is action that can be taken. There's no magic bullet as far as we're concerned, but these are relatively low-paid workers doing an essential public service, and when they go to work, they should know that proper risk assessments are in place, the risk is being minimised, and that when they are attacked, in a worst-case scenario, the full weight of the law is being brought to bear.
Are you suggesting that those things don't apply now?
We think that far more could be done. The big banks, the building societies and their big retailers have a duty of care to our members when they're picking up and delivering cash to their establishments. If they're not meeting the duty of care and our members are injured in the course of their work, we will take legal action.
But how could they help?
They could provide safe places where our members can deliver and pick up cash. There could be greater thought going into the planning and design of buildings to ensure that there are safe areas where our members are coming in to provide that service.
What's the response of the police forces like to this kind of crime?
Well, unfortunately, the response has been mixed. If we look at Liverpool, we see some good practice and we see the rate of this crime falling significantly. But in places like Greater Manchester, then unfortunately we think the police could be doing far more. And we are doing our utmost to put pressure on the police to ensure that they're giving this crime the importance that it deserves. You know, people need to recognise this is not a victimless crime. Ordinary working people have been badly injured in the course of their job.
We did put your accusation to the Greater Manchester Police. They say that in future they're going to look at putting armed officers and patrol cars alongside people like Colin when they're delivering these greater use of CCTV, etc., which presumably would make you happy.
Anything that's done to protect the interests of our members doing their job on a day-to-day basis is to be welcomed, and we're keen to work with all parties to ensure our members are getting best looked after as they go about their day-to-day work.
OK, got to leave it there. Guy, thanks very much indeed. Colin, thank you very much indeed, and all the very best, and very sorry to hear what happened to you. Thank you.
Time is 14 minutes to 7. You're watching the News Hour on GMTV. This morning's headlines: pop star Michael Jackson's been ordered to shut down his Neverland ranch because he hasn't paid his workers.
Thousands of pensioners could be forced to pay back benefit money after errors by a government department.
And it's emerged that the collapse of the car maker MG Rover cost the taxpayer more than £5 million as ministers, in vain, tried to save it. The mother of Anthony Walker, who was killed in a racist attack last year, has presented a community award in memory of her son. Anthony Walker was just 18 when he was set upon and killed in an unprovoked racist attack last July. His killers were jailed for life. Speaking outside court after they were sentenced, Anthony's mother said she forgave the killers and felt sad for them.
Do I forgive them? At the point of death, Jesus said, I forgive them because they don't know what they do. I've got to forgive them. I still forgive them. My family and I still stand by what we believe. Forgiveness.
And G Walker, as I said, has turned her grief into something incredibly positive, launching this award in Anthony's name to recognise the work of young people in the community. G joins us now. Good morning to you, G. None of us can forget that statement outside the court and the humanity you showed to your son's killers. How do you feel about them now?
I still feel the same. I don't feel any different about them. I still feel a sense of sadness for them.
How has life been since Anthony's death?
Oh, extremely busy. We've been trying to set up an Anthony Walker Foundation, so we've been working tirelessly behind the scenes to do that.
Now, you decided to launch this, the Citizenship Awards in Anthony's name. Why did you decide to do that?
Well, I'm pleased this has made the news because good things are happening behind the scenes and they're overshadowed by bad press. So it's a wonderful opportunity to know that young people are doing good things amongst us, and it's good to recognise them.
So what were you looking for in the winners?
Well, someone who's been through stuff, someone who can empathise with others because they've been there and know what it feels like. So it was a difficult decision, but I'm pleased we come to the right decision, I think.
Well, the person who won that award, Lauren Owen, is with you this morning. So if I can say good morning to you, Lauren.
Good morning.
Good morning. So tell us what you did then, why you got this, this award.
Well, I've been working with Bully Busters, and I wrote a song for my friend who was bullied, and you know, she was so down through it all and she wouldn't go to school, and I wanted to be able to help her, and the song helped her, so I've been all around the country singing in all schools and doing questions and answers with all the children and everything.
Right, so it was actually not because you were bullied then, it was just because your friend was being bullied?
Well, I was bullied when I was younger, so, you know, I knew how it felt, but my friend was bullied really badly just before her GCSEs, and, you know, I could see how much it hurt her.
So how does this song help then?
Pardon?
I was just saying, how does this song help her?
Well, it's got like a lot of different points of view. It says as how the victim feels, and then it also tells them, you know, to stand tall and that you can get through it. And she said she realised she wasn't on her own because she felt so lonely, and, you know, that no one, you know, cared for her. And she said it made her see, you know, she was worth something.
So how do you feel about winning this award then, Lauren?
Oh, I was so pleased, I was so happy, and, you know, to receive it in memory of Anthony was lovely.
And G, presumably very proud of Lauren.
I am. She's a lovely girl. We just have to stand by her and support her, because it's a hard road ahead.
It is indeed. Well, G Walker and Lauren Owen, thank you both very much for joining us this morning. Thank you.
Thanks also for all your texts and emails on the proposal to ban wild and exotic animals from travelling circuses. Just a sample of two of them. Animals should be banned from circuses. I won't take my children to see them, says Jane Ingham. Somebody else saying perhaps that properly regulated performing creatures should be seen because they increase public concern for conservation of their species. Fair point.
Yeah. And just before we go, a picture the Daily Mail caught of me after having taken my makeup off yesterday.
What we face at 4 a.m. every day, folks.
Exactly. That's before I get brushed up,
You should explain what it is.
blow-dried.
You should explain what it is.
It is actually a barn owl, and she won't. It's a little girl, little girl barn owl. What else does it say? 3 inches tall, weighs 40 grams, less than 2 ounces. Bless, it's a face that only a mother could love.
Exactly. That's just about it from the two of us. Penny's back in just to stick with Ben.
Yeah. Before that, the weather with Andrea.
I can't stand bad odours.
Oh, dear. At last, I found something that really works. It's Oust. It gets rid of bad smells.
If you could see bad smells, you'd see most air fresheners just cover them up. Oust gets rid of bad odours on contact.
It smells clean.
Oust really works.
It's wonderful.
And for your bathroom, the Oust Mini Spray. It's just perfect to get rid of those nasty bathroom smells. Don't cover up bad odours, oust them. SC Johnson, a family company.
If you have diabetes, you'll know what it's like to test your blood sugar regularly. Sometimes the smallest things can make the biggest difference. Freestyle Mini, the smallest of all meters, offers gentler testing with the smallest ever blood drop. And it's fast too.
Freestyle Mini, available from Boots and all leading pharmacies.
Tonight I want something intense and exciting.
No problem. But first, we eat, huh?
McCain Home Fries. Oven chips that taste so good you'd think they've been fried. Taste the chip from heaven.
classic screen icons brought to you in this weekend's Telegraph. On Saturday, there's the enigmatic Ingrid Bergman in Intermezzo. And on Sunday, get the ultra-cool Steve McQueen in Junior Bonner. Get your 2 free DVDs only inside tomorrow's Daily Telegraph and this weekend's Sunday Telegraph.
Hi, I'm Kim Wilde. My family and I shop regularly at Holland & Barrett, and they're back with their new better than half price sale. Digest this. Aloe vera juice now only $1.99. That's over 60% off. Evening primrose oil. Also $1.99. That's a cool 63% off. You really can't afford to miss the better than half price sale now at Holland & Barrett.
New ideas for new rooms from B&Q. These tiles are under £30 a pack. What makes them the real deal? They're specially coloured Spanish glass. This floor is around £875. Solid oak and easy to fit, it's the real deal. This premium kitchen is under £8,000. The real deal, it's solid wood with clever storage solutions and soft close drawers. Who always gives you a great deal on every new room in your home? B&Q, of course.
Good morning. Later we meet the 27-year-old victim of sexual abuse who, after 20 years of silence, has finally seen her grandfather jailed. She says it's never too late for justice.
Nicola Blackstock, actress Nicola Wheeler on why she's saying farewell to the Dales forever. Plus, Michael Winner brings some good old-fashioned seaside humour this morning at 10:30.
GMTV weather, sponsored by Tops Tiles. Brightening homes, whatever the weather.
Hello there, good morning. Quite a messy picture weather-wise through today. What you can see if we run the overnight satellite picture through is we've got an old weather front that's bringing some rain across parts of Scotland. You can see there the radar picking that up. And we've also got some fairly heavy rain that's feeding in across Northern Ireland. But just behind that, see some speckly cloud, but some breaks in the cloud at least. And that's showing there. So we are seeing some kind of sunshine through this morning. This is where the majority of the cloud is. You can see maybe 1 or 2 breaks across the southeast, so not a bad start to the day here. But the best chance of any brightness, I think, is going to be across the southwestern region, but even here it is going to be fairly windy. So let's take a look at this afternoon. What we will see is those showers continuing really across much of Scotland. Later on they could turn a little bit wintry over the hills. We've got some cold air moving in through today. A little bit drier across western areas, but even here it's still going to be cloudy. An improving picture this afternoon for some southern regions of Northern Ireland, also the Isle of Man, but remaining fairly grey, fairly unsettled right the way down the country. As you can see there, it's going to be grey skies across much of Wales. Mid-Wales, South Wales, you should see some sunshine through this morning. That's also going to be creeping into around Gloucestershire, around the Bristol region. Remaining quite grey, though, across East Anglia. You can see their highs of around 7 to 8 degrees. Things will turn unsettled this afternoon for the southeast. As far as the southwest goes, it looks like, again, you're going to see the best chance of any sunshine this afternoon. Still going to see 1 or 2 showers, and it will also be quite breezy as well. A very unsettled outlook for the weekend. What we'll see through tonight is, as we go into the end of today and into tonight, colder air feeding in from the northeast. As we go through the weekend, we'll see milder air starting to push in from the west. That's going to be mild and moist. Put that together with cold air, and what happens is snow. We're expecting to see some snowfall across much of Scotland, stretching down into northern parts of England, into the Midlands and East Anglia, and we could really see some disruption in terms of travel because of this snow. I'll give you some more details as to how we expect that to happen. For Saturday, it's starting off not too badly across eastern areas, but bitterly cold. Then we see this area of rain pushing in from the west through Saturday, and then it's overnight Saturday into Sunday that it clashes with that cold air. And what we will see is for Sunday, western areas much milder than the east. East struggling to get up to 2 to 3 degrees. Could even see double figures in western areas. Go figure. Here's your summary.
For your in-depth local outlook, visit our website, gm.tv, or for a 10-day forecast, call GMTV's Weatherline on 0905 514 0000.
Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch is closed down after the singer doesn't pay his bills. Good morning, you're watching GMTV today.
Almost 7 o'clock, Friday the 10th of March 2006.
So animal welfare officers have been called in to take care of Michael Jackson's animals after the Star's Neverland branch was closed down. The singer, who's living in Bahrain at the moment, hasn't paid his bills and is known to have large debts.
Also this morning, cruel and outdated or just harmless entertainment. Next week, MPs will consider a complete ban on using wild animals in our travelling circuses. Animal rights groups say this is a massive victory, but ringmasters say a ban goes against what audiences really want. Join the debate. Text us 81189, email us gm.tv.
And is he shaken but not stirred? Yep, 007 is back. Daniel Craig tells GMTV he's not too blonde to be Bond. Carla's been to the Bahamas to meet him on set. We've got more from Daniel and Carla in half an hour's time.
I think he's very handsome.
He's got it going on. He looks good in those shots, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
I think it's just he's not as effusive about the role as perhaps some of the other Bonds have been so far. He's playing it down quite a lot. I quite like that, though.
Now, and another hunk to wake you up with a smile this morning. He's the opera